All right, welcome. Today, we are diving deep into a pretty provocative stand-up special from comedian Jeffrey Osmos. We're going to deconstruct the themes, the mechanics, and this central idea he keeps coming back to, something he calls alpha comedy. Okay, so this one line right here, this is pretty much the key to his entire special. It's not just some throwaway comeback. It's basically his mission statement. He immediately draws a line in the sand. You're either an alpha who's in on the joke, or you're a beta who just doesn't get it. So to really get what he's doing up there, we have to start with his main concept. What exactly is alpha comedy? Let's try to break it down using his own rules. When you boil it down, alpha comedy is a really simple but very confrontational idea. The comedian is the dominant one, the alpha. And if you don't like a joke, well, that's not a problem with the joke, it's a problem with you. It's a framework that's almost designed to be bulletproof against any kind of criticism. So where does a persona like this even come from? Well, to understand the alpha he plays on stage, you gotta look at his foundation, his family. This is where he says his, let's call it a dark sense of humor, was born. He points to this one single story with his mom as like the origin of his entire comedic worldview. I mean, it's a perfect example of his style, right? Taking a memory that sounds genuinely traumatic and twisting it into this dark punchline that's supposed to explain everything about him. And he does the exact same thing with other taboos, like being attracted to a family member. He doesn't just tell a shocking joke and move on. No. He uses that alpha framework to flip it right back on the audience. If you're feeling uncomfortable, hey, that's not his fault. It's your family's. All right, so from the family stuff, he takes that same confrontational style and aims it squarely at the modern cultural and political landscape. For him, all that tension we see in society, that's the perfect fuel for comedy. So check this out. He breaks down one of his core arguments by satirically dividing up what America produces. In his world, you've got urban liberals producing these intellectual luxuries, podcasts, slam poetry, and then you've got rural America making everything that's actually essential. Food, plumbers. It's a wild exaggeration, of course, but it's designed to poke at what he sees as a big societal hypocrisy. And this is a perfect example of his political stuff. He takes this incredibly charged, serious event and reframes it in the most absurdly normal way possible, a bachelor party. The joke isn't really a political statement, it's that the comparison itself is so audacious, it almost forces you to laugh at the absurdity. And believe me, he does not shy away from the most divisive topics out there. With a line like this, he just comes at the abortion debate from a totally unexpected, almost contrarian angle. It is designed for maximum shock, forcing everyone in the room to deal with this logically twisted but comedically powerful argument. Okay, and this brings us to the real heart of his act, and honestly, the core of this whole breakdown. It's this huge contradiction between his alpha bravado and the really deep insecurity he reveals, especially when he starts talking about sex. Okay, so here's the setup. He makes these massive, completely over-the-top claims about his sexual dominance. He's the king, he's the champion, he's the best to ever do it. He's building up that classic alpha persona, super confident, arrogant, basically unbeatable. And then, bam, he immediately punctures his own ego. The punchline completely pulls the rug out from under the premise. And this isn't just a one-off joke. It's a structural device he uses over and over and over. The bravado is just the setup for the reveal of the insecure beta hiding underneath. And he does it again. He repeats the exact same pattern. He starts with another classic, confident line, exactly what you'd expect to hear from his alpha character. He's setting the whole audience up for another moment of pure dominance. And boom, there it is again, a two-word punchline from his girlfriend that just completely deflates his entire posture. This pattern, this alpha setup followed by a beta punchline, is the fundamental engine of his comedy, at least when it comes to sex and relationships. And, the insecurity isn't just hinted at, it is the main text. He just comes right out and says it. He calls himself ugly, describes this bizarre birthmark, and even gives you the specific, very unimpressive percentile for his penis size. The alpha is clearly a costume, and he keeps showing the audience exactly who's underneath it. But a show like this isn't just about the written jokes, right? A huge part of his act is just pure technical skill. So let's look at how he uses crowd work, not just for a few extra laughs, but to actually reinforce the entire theme of the show. This moment is just a masterclass in seizing an opportunity. When an audience member tells him his name is Commander, which is an awesome name, Osmos immediately contrasts it with his own plain name, Jeff. In 1 second, he creates this dynamic of high status versus low status. And here's where he ties it all together. He uses the exact language of his own alpha/beta dynamic to describe what just happened. In his world, even having a cooler name makes him the cuck, the beta. This totally spontaneous moment of crowd work feeds directly back into the central theme of the whole special. It's brilliant. All right, now for the grand finale. He sets up his most elaborate joke of the entire night, one that pulls together his religious background, his expensive college education, and his absolute love of provocative language. I mean, the setup is incredible. He frames the joke inside the high-stakes context of his college thesis, telling the audience this one single line cost him $98,000. The anticipation in the room for what's coming next is just huge. And there it is. A sentence that is, believe it or not, technically defensible if you use an archaic definition of the word ejaculate, which means to speak suddenly. But it's obviously chosen for its shocking, blasphemous, and really funny modern meaning. It's the perfect culmination of his entire style. And the final piece, the cherry on top, is the real-world reaction from his professor. That simple note in the margins, word choice, is the exact reaction his whole style is designed to get. This mix of confusion, disapproval, and maybe a grudging respect for the craft involved. So I guess that leaves us with this question. After breaking it all down, is that aggressive alpha persona the real point of the comedy? Or is the entire bravado, the whole act, just one giant setup for the final punchline, the reveal of the insecure, self-aware, and ultimately pretty relatable person hiding underneath it all?